Excuse me. Let's do pop ouch. Squeak. Close that. Maximize that. Is this the, yeah, there we go. That's what I wanted. Okay. Okay. Alrighty. So, fingertips. See how this looks. Let's copy this. I just try to post a link to my business page. Not that anyone cares. Quilt work is not really the kind of thing that people crave to tune in for. These two things. And those. Okay. This might be totally dead. Seems like it. That's why I have more of it. If I can read it. Perfecto. Impressive. Keep finding my wife's hair on things. Like, she's never down here. What the heck? Seriously, my copper scrap box is starting to get full. I wonder how much copper I have in there. Copper's pretty high price right now, so it'd be a good time to recycle it all. Just turn around and use the money from that to buy more copper. Reinvest it. That's the smart thing to do. Sitting up tall. So this is part 2. So I'm going to do a whole bunch. I don't know how much this. It's funny how, as I'm sitting here and working on this, I know eventually my hands are going to wear out, I just can't do this anymore. And so I'm just paying attention, like if I ever have to have like thumb surgery or something like that. Just thinking, like, what are the things that are mostly going to be impacted? It's like, certainly what I just did there, where I pinch. But who knows? And this is one of the tedious parts of blood building is the fingertips. Especially the index fingertip. It's really difficult. Even for someone like me. This is something that would probably murder my hands if I ever had surgery or something. My audio sounds bad? Okay, hold on. Thank you for the heads up. Let's see. I don't know if that makes anything sound better. Let's see, let's get rid of this. Testing. Hello, hello, hello. Is that better? I'm Henry VIII, I am Henry VIII, I am. Okay. Yeah, I just set the default microphone to the one that's in the webcam. So I thought that's what it was already set at, but nope, I guess not. Great, now I put the tool down, and now I don't know where I put the tool down. See what you made me do? All right. Okay. Okay. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. Where is the... Okay. The fireworks are beginning. So jarring when you open up your phone and it's on your selfie cam and you just open it up, you're like, ah! Comparing to my photos right now. This is what I have that nobody else has. I've got about 400 reference photos of the original glove from many, many angles. And it's still not perfect. Okay, I think I need to shave this down just a little bit. Right now it's 10:10 p.m. So you're 2 hours ahead of us. Never forget the one thing that really struck me when I saw the original glove was just how skinny the fingertips were. I remember going, wow, that's a lot skinnier than I expected it to be. It's like Robert must have had really small hands. Because I know they built it for him, you know, for his hand size. Okay, that's too aggressive there. So even if you have the templates well designed, you still have to bend everything correctly to make sure it lines up as much as you can. That's where these pictures come in handy. look at this. It's not going to be. I appreciate the optimism, but yeah. Alrighty. Well. She's been all right. You know, we're just maintaining. Can't complain. Appreciate the concern. Okay, let's see how that looks. There we go, that looks better. Okay. Okay, so now basically I have to make the canal, that's what I call it, down the back, or the channel rather, not the canal, the channel, the canal. Anyway, make the channel down the back of the fingertip, which is where the blade sits during brazing. I think I need to put a new grinding wheel on this thing. This is where the new Dremel would come into play. All right. Okay, so that's the little channel that the blade sits in. So it's right there. Yeah. So then when you braze the blade, the blade just kind of sits inside that channel there. Got the hiccups.
Sorry, I'm just referencing my photos again. It's weird, you just look at it from one angle and you're like, yeah, it looks good. Then you look at it from another angle and you're like, not quite sure. All that work just for one fingertip. Now, reward myself with my favorite fingertip, which is the middle. There's something I love about the middle fingertip. And no, it's not because it's the middle finger. I just like the way it's shaped and the way it looks. It's pleasing to my eye. Well, the pinky's the easiest to shape. So that one's like my favorite one to shape because it's just the easiest. But in terms of just the way it looks is the middle. Just the way that, like the contour of it, especially on the side that faces the index finger. There's just something, just the way that it just curves. It's just, it's a sexy fingertip. So my weirdness. Where's that little towel? I'm not sitting on it, am I? See, I think my camera's turned. I'm watching the replay of my stream, noticing my bald spot. Never thought that was going to happen to me. Just a stupid little patch right there, right on the crown of my head, just thinned out. Yeah. Yeah, the index, I would say that's probably my second favorite in terms of just the way it looks. Excuse me. But yeah. But it's also the hardest to replicate. I mean, even, because if you don't shape it just right, it's going to look wrong, even though the template is really good. So it's a balance between the template itself and how you shape it, because the shape, like the bends in the metal, also contribute to the way it looks. And so you can't just design it as a flat template. You have to think about, what does this look like when it's perfectly flat? So you can't just draw the shape as it looks on the piece, because when you start adding bends to it, it makes a curve look more or less exaggerated, and that has to be taken into account. Drawing up the template. The original glove is certainly a shape-shifting glove, because you think you know how a piece looks, and then you view it from another angle, and that makes you second guess. Like, okay, maybe it doesn't look like that. Like, I remember seeing the glove for the first time in person, and I was looking at it, and I'm like, oh, interesting. I didn't think it looked like that. Seeing it in person is quite different than just seeing it in photos. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, they're definitely good conversation pieces. So I brought them to work before, and people were like, "Whoa, what's the story?" Well, first off, I'm weird. Let's get that out of the way. Windows notification. Let's see. See in the rivets, the holes where they put the finger support. Oh, yeah, I see what you mean. Yeah, it's like I want to know like the little hole that's near the rivet on the ring finger. Just that little hole that's kind of peeking out from behind the rivet. Like, did he just misjudge where to put the hole for that one? I've always wondered about that one. But in the end, I think a lot of the things on it, we sometimes think, oh, what does that mean? Or, you know, I'm pretty certain almost most of those things are never deliberate. It's just the things that just happen. Because again, they weren't replicating anything. They were just making it from scratch. And I did hear a story from Lou about a detail on the glove. One of the things that he knew that really helped him authenticate it was he screwed up on part of the glove and he wanted to redo it, but I guess he didn't really have the time, and so it just kind of got left that way. You can still see it on. I'm being purposefully vague, by the way. I thought it was something that occurred with use of the glove and just the fact that it got beat up. And no, but there's something on the glove that it's like, oh, so that's been from the very beginning. Okay. Good to know. And it was actually something that Lou wanted to fix because yeah, he didn't have the time to fix it, so he just kind of left it the way it was. And that was one of the big things that he specifically looked for, because he says he remembers making that mistake and wanting to redo it. All right. That's the big one. I need the small. Here we go. Excuse me. All of a sudden I'm just feeling really tired. I gotta hit up the gym more often. I gotta shed some of this extra weight that I've been carrying around for too long. Kind of hard when you get older and you work a desk job and just feel like you run out of energy. You're like, ugh. I look back at some of my pictures and videos from a few years ago, and I'm like, looks like I got stung by a bee, or lots of bees. So. Ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba. So this is part 2. So I believe the index or the middle finger like was shaped differently between part 1 and part 2. Stupid blister. It's murdering my hands. Oh, they did. Yeah, they used the same glove. It's just I think the bends and things like that changed. But yes, most likely they did sand all the parts down. Um, because all that red brazing discoloration doesn't just come off. It actually you have to sand it off, and the fact that there's not much of it left, and there's still some left on the fingertips, but clearly it looks like they took some sandpaper to it, and or some sort of scouring pad, and then it just naturally patinaed to that nice even kind of peanut butter brown. darn good. That doesn't happen very often. Now this part I really like for some reason, because you look at it right now and you're like, something doesn't look right. But then you make this next change and you're like, oh, now it does. And all it is just shaving off that little point right there, where that little V cut gets bent. And there we go. It's amazing how just that little thing, it's like, makes it look, because I can see it in my head, you know, and what it's supposed to look like. But until you shave off that little point, it's like, it just looks wrong. But then you shave off that point and you're like, yeah. Okay, now I gotta check to see if it's crooked, which usually it is. All right, where is that one file? That's not it. There it is. Okay, I can already tell that I'm going to have to make some adjustments to this. What I'm trying to do is get this file to just pass through the holes smoothly. Hopefully not into my hand. Okay, yeah, there's some bending issues I need to resolve here. So if it doesn't want to fit together right, you gotta fix that. Just gotta find the points of friction. It's like, okay, where is it hitting? Oftentimes these little adjustments are super tiny, not even enough to really be visually discernible. See how that goes through nice and smooth now? Well, not smooth, but you know, I'm able to move it back and forth. Ooh, yeah, there we go. That's what I'm looking for. Let's see how it looks. Okay, that's a little crooked. Just a tad. So, to fix that, I thread something through both of the holes, and I know it's slightly skewed to the right, so I gotta just torque it to the left just a tiny bit, and that's gonna obviously throw off some of your bends, so now you have to go back in, redo that work. It looks pretty good right there. Let's see, where's my reference piece? Looks pretty good. I like it. Hello. Sorry, I wasn't looking up. Okay. There. Oh yeah, there we go. Now you're straight. Okay. That looks good. I like it. Okay. Nice. Time to pull up my reference pictures. My phone is dying. I've got 17% battery. That's enough for now. Middle tip. All right. Looks really good. This needs to be sanded down. This. What, my insanely slow building process? Or just saying like how many times I'm checking it and then double checking it and triple checking it? Okay, I like it. I think we're done with the shaping. Let me look one last thing. Okay, I'm actually going to pull this down just a little bit. There we go. That's kind of what I'm looking for right there. Except right there. There we go. That's better. Okay. Okay. This needs to be. All right, so there's that. Well, thank you. Yeah, it's one of the, I would say that that's not at all one of the reasons actually that I do live streams. You know, it's not like I'm trying to show, you know, how much work I put into them. You know, I mean, I tell people that template gloves take 20 to 30 hours to build, and, you know, and I'm normally not live streaming and stopping to talk like this, but, you know, people can see that I'm not kidding when they take that long. So, do they have to? Maybe not, but maybe if I were like just able to achieve the shapes perfectly and, you know, but since everything's done by hand and every tiny little movement can make it look right or wrong, you know, it's, since it's all hand done. Okay, that's where the blade sits, just like that. Beautiful. Yeah. Hey, how you doing? Okay. Thank you. I never left, but you know, I've gotten old, gotten tired, and you know, I never really stopped making gloves. I just slowed down. Wish I had an infinite supply of energy. That would be no, that would be nice. I had that when I was younger. It's just weird how age creeps up on you, man. You know, one second you're like, hey, I'm 27 years old, and the next second you're like, I'm 45. Where did those 18 to 20 years go? Yep, is what it is. All of us are on our own little trek to the finish line. None of us are getting out of here alive. So enjoy it while it lasts. Okay. I always check it to see how that's going to look. I like it. Looks good. Yeah, I wasn't really into making the AST a whole lot, just simply because I was specifically having problems with the back plate, because I apparently got lucky on a good batch of brass years ago, where doing my normal heat treating method, it would just it would keep getting darker and darker and darker every time I did a heat treatment. And eventually it got to this dark, really kind of darkened copper color, just from heat. And I was like, oh my gosh, I found a way to do the AST backplates, completely natural coloring. Um, and then I ran out of that brass, ordered new brass, and it hasn't been the same ever since. I don't know, even though I ordered it from the same place, because I ordered a sheet through Amazon, and I just reordered from the same supplier, but the new piece of brass that I got in just didn't behave the same way. It just wouldn't get darker and darker. It just like it I could only get it to a certain color, but then it was like this kind of a faded dark gold color, but almost had like a slight green tint to it. And then I couldn't get it any darker than that. And I was getting really frustrated because like I didn't know what else to do. And um, and so I just put that glove to the side, and then eventually I came back to revisit it and implemented more kind of artistic techniques, not so much just natural weathering. I mean, that's obviously ideal, is to, excuse me, achieve it through natural means and using natural methods with heat and things like that. But since that wasn't working out, I had to figure out, okay, how can I do this artistically? And I experimented with a couple of things, and surprisingly, it worked out. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that actually worked. And so I just kept working on that and fine tuning it. And it's still more of an artistic piece compared to most of my other gloves, which are more traditional. The only thing that's still considered artistic, like on the part one, would be the back plate, because that back plate stain has to be like a certain pattern. And I've noticed that if I leave it as is, it has a propensity to fade or come off with like hand, like oils and things like that. It just can fade over time or with touching, and I didn't like that, so I wound up having to clear coat my part one back plates, which I never liked to do. I hated clear coating things because I like the natural raw feel of it. But I was able to actually implement a really durable clear coat that I was able to still make it look like it was relatively bare metal. Um, and so it doesn't really make it look um, like too artistic. And so I implemented that into my AST gloves to kind of lock in the artistic coloring of the back plate. And yes, it is mostly artistic. Not, I can't say mostly. It's kind of a balance between natural methods, and then I apply an artistic method on top of it to achieve the color and the stain pattern that you see in it. And to protect that, I have to clear coat it. But thankfully, the clear coat is extremely durable. It's not the kind that will just peel off, you know. Obviously, where metal rubs on metal, you know, you're gonna have it scratching. But I try to pre-scratch it, honestly, just so it doesn't really develop much scratching after that. It just makes it look like it's, you know, been used, and that hopefully should minimize any of the backplate scratching where the clear coat makes contact with the metal. Um, and yeah, but then I was able to, despite clear coating it, able to get it to the point where it looks like bare metal. And um, so yeah, and so I figured, well, I guess that's the way I have to achieve it for now. You know, customers seem to be extremely happy with the outcome. So even though it's more of an artistic piece than anything else, because if I were to order an AST glove, I wouldn't use it. I wouldn't buy it to wear and play around with. I mean, I love just it's like having the original glove in your house and on display, you know, and to play around with it and potentially make it look different than how it was meant to look, just by use. I think kind of takes away. That's just my opinion. Kind of takes away from its purpose. Whereas part one and part two, you know, they're more meant to be used and played with and things like that. But still, even $1,000 glove, you know, I probably wouldn't play around with it a whole lot. So, but that's just me. So anyway, that's my long-winded rant. Oh, and I wouldn't say that I've got a lot of orders for AST gloves. It's just a lot of people are changing their order to the AST glove because it's not a glove I offered previously. But as I've started to offer it and get better at doing it, I've had several people who have been on my list waiting for a part one or a part two, and they've said, "Hey, can I switch it to an AST?" And so that's been the reason why several of my builds lately have been for AST gloves, is just because people keep changing to it. But thankfully, the ones I'm working on now, that's just a straight up part one and part two. So anyway, I was thinking of increasing the price on the AST glove just because it's so significantly, excuse me, so significantly more time consuming, and just all the little extra steps that I have to go through to produce it, you know, with the back plate and all the special weathering that's on it, you know, just to get it the way it looks is significantly more time consuming than, but I haven't made a decision on that. You know, I don't want to drive customers away, though. Although I thought $1,000 price point would drive customers away, but people still, it's amazing what people spend on this hobby. I'm not going to lie. But I'm thankful for the support, and I'm happy to hear that people who are getting their gloves are happy with them. And, you know, but, you know, since the AST glove is my more recent developed glove, you know, it's gone through kind of a creativity arc where my first ones, like especially as I've started to work on them again lately, the first ones, I mean, needless to say, are not as good as my more recent ones. And that's just kind of how things go with an art piece. You know, it's like if you buy a painting from an artist and then, you know, 6 months later or a year later or 2 years later, you know, you look at their work and you see that they've gotten better, and you're like, you feel a little dissatisfied with the piece that you already bought. And I totally understand that, you know, but that's unfortunately the name of the game. But, you know, I haven't increased my price as I've gotten better. But, you know, I'm willing to work with customers because I've got an AST glove that was sent back to me to be upgraded, you know, with my more recent stuff. And so I'm happy to oblige and work with people where I can. And because in the end, I want customers to be happy. I mean, it's not a cheap glove. It's a lot of money to invest in it. And I want people to be happy with that investment, you know. But also at the same time, you know, I've got my own bills to pay, and so I can't be doing a lot of, free charitable work, and so if customers want an upgrade or me to redo something on a glove, there's usually a price to getting that done. Sometimes I'll throw in some free stuff, just out of the kindness of my heart, just because I'm like, I feel bad that they got a glove that isn't as good as my more recent ones, and so I'll sometimes throw in a few extra things at no charge. So anyway, yeah, I'm not sure why I went down that rabbit hole, but let's see. Hear that clicking? Not anymore. Anyway, my left hand and wrist have been clicking. Yeah. Fun, getting old. Let's see, did I miss anything? Yep, I agree. Yeah, when you said it's like, natural and raw feels the best. We are talking about gloves, right? Anyway. um, but yeah, when things get stubborn, you've got orders to finish, and sometimes you have to improvise and go a different route, and that's what I had to do with the AST glove. Ideally, I want to keep things natural and do things natural. But if it's just not working out, you can't just leave the customer hanging, indefinitely and just like, well, maybe I'll never figure that out. But if you find something that works and you show it to the customer and you say, oh yeah, I'm happy with that. As long as you do that, as long as you keep the customer informed, ask them for feedback, show them the, alternative methods that you're working on and see if they're happy with it, and if they're satisfied with it, then go ahead, then go down that route. Because otherwise you're never going to get anything done if you can't get things to cooperate. So, but if you find something that works, make sure the customer is good with it, and then knock it out. So yeah, let's see. Now we're basically on to the two easiest fingertips, which would be the ring finger and the pinky finger. Excuse me again. Sorry, I'm just been like, it just hit me where I'm just feeling tired. But I think before, I call it a night, I want to try to get these two last fingers, these fingertips, because I'd like to go to bed having completed the fingertips so they're ready for the blades. Let's see. Okay. Let's go ring. Ooh. Yeah. Thankfully, that doesn't hurt. I mean, that's definitely coming out of my wrist. But every now and then I'll feel something like kind of right in this area on the base of my thumb. I hope it's not that stupid bone that oftentimes has to get removed for people with arthritis and stuff like that. But that was just my joint in my thumb. If you heard that click, that sometimes pops. But anyway, I'm just like a bowl of Rice Krispies here. So these gloves have taken their toll on my hands. So I mean, ideally, I've been doing this for so long. I would like to hang it up, just because, for one, I just don't enjoy the craft as much as I used to. Okay, why is this not spinning? These little wheels on this pick cutter are not spinning. Anyway. Anyway, as I was saying, I wish I could retire from glove building. It's because I am, not gonna lie, I'm burned out on it. You know, I mean, I still enjoy working on things. Wait a minute. Why did I cut that so short? That's not even big enough for the piece. What the heck? What was I doing? How did I draw that incorrectly? Oh, I cut it in the wrong spot. I'm an idiot. See, I'm tired. Let's try that again, shall we? This time, let's cut it in the right spot. But I swear I did, but whatever. I see what's going on. This isn't staying in place. It's actually shifting as I'm cutting. That's not good. I think I might have to throw that thing away. So, since I cut into, you know, a good amount of copper there, so that explains why it's like, I know I started it on the line. Yeah, it keeps going upward like a screw. Why is it doing that? Let me start down here. I can't afford to lose too much copper. Copper pipe is not cheap anymore. So, and I don't want to use that because, yeah, I can already see it kind of cutting into the inside. Yep, that needs to be scrapped. Okay, mystery solved. Mystery solved. Now I know why. I'm like, I swear I cut it on the right line. I didn't realize it was like shifting and actually cutting it like a screw and creating threads. Well, time to get a new pipe cutter, I guess. Well, that worked a lot faster. Well, now I know this one's pretty much shot. I'll just throw it away. Yeah. Okay. Oh, goodness. Wish I were 27 years old again. When I had energy, smiled more. Life can beat you down. Yeah. Hate it when the template moves while you're tracing. Like, no. Okay. Okay. Good. I told my wife that I was getting some blisters on my fingers from all the glove work I'm doing lately, and she's like, "Why don't you wear gloves?" I'm like, "Because that makes too much sense." But in all seriousness, um, I just feel like I have to feel the copper. It's hard to explain, but there's a barrier between me and the copper. It's, I don't know, I don't like it. Yeah. So you get it. I mean, the only gloves I really ever wear are like just latex or nitrile gloves, you know. Come on. You know, like these. You know, I'll use those when I'm weathering and stuff just to keep the oils of my fingers off of the metal because I'm trying to control the surface cleanliness or integrity. Anyway, yeah, aside from that, no, I pretty much never wear gloves. And to think, this is just all this work tonight is just cutting out and shaping the fingertips. That's it. Oh, how long have I been streaming? I don't know. Oh, 2 hours and 19 minutes. Granted, some of that has been talking, but mostly not. But yeah, 2 hours and 19 minutes just to get 4 fingertips. Well, I'm only on the third. I still have another one to do. Thankfully, these two are typically the easier ones. I do take some more creative liberty on the ring fingertip on the Part 2, because based on the photos I've seen, the bends on the fingertips today don't look like they were fully there in like the Part 2 promo photos. So I think some of the bends that are on the ring fingertip specifically occurred after all of that. And so I generally interpret what I think it looked like in Part 2. Basically, I'm shaping it like how it is today, minus some of the more exaggerated bends. It's like, okay, what happened to this fingertip after it was filmed, after Part 2 was filmed? You know, maybe something happened when they were using it in the Part 3 reference, you know. But for Part 2, you know, I don't think all those bends were there. So here's one spot on my finger that's getting really sore. What's your drink of choice, guys? Not alcoholic, I just mean like your guilty pleasure, refreshing drink. Milk, water, soda, lemonade, iced tea, whatever it is. You know, I'm not talking about like what's your favorite, you know, alcoholic drink, because I can't relate. I don't drink alcohol, but just wondering what you guys default to. I'll go first. Mine right now is Dr. Pepper Zero. So that's kind of the thing that's gotten my attention lately. Used to be Coke Zero. Now it's Dr. Pepper Zero. So my wife thinks I'm crazy because she hates Dr. Pepper. I don't blame her. I think I'm crazy too, but not because I drink Dr. Pepper. Crying out loud, I build child-killing murder weapons for partial living. Can't be all right in the head and do that. Starting to feel the fatigue setting in. I was going to just put this here, but that's going to cause a problem. I need a shower. I just feel like, oh, just feel like I'm usually after glove work. I feel like I've just got sandpaper all over, or sand all over me. Yeah, the regular Coke makes my teeth feel like kind of chalky, for lack of a better term, like just the way my teeth feel when they just having that real sugar in there doesn't sit well with me. This finger, I can already tell, is super crooked. Oh, yeah. Yeah, it is. And too much. Again, I'm just taking creative liberties on how the part 2 fingertip is bent. And I just was saying, like, hey, the ring finger is the easiest, one of the easier fingers to bend. Well, it is just because I'm taking more like creative decision making. But you know, every fingertip takes time. Okay, that's too big. All right. Nice smooth movement. Yeah, it kind of looks like, you know, the fingertip as it looks today, but just not quite as exaggerated, you know. got still has some of those characteristics for the ring finger. But see, one things you want to look at is when you're making a smooth moving glove, you know, even if the holes aren't like perfectly, because honestly, on the original glove, you know, the holes aren't like perfectly straight across. You know, like maybe on one side they're up a little higher than they are on the right hand side, you know, on the same finger, you know, but what you want is you got to make sure that the fingertip, the holes on the fingertip and the holes on the lower stall are like both aligned properly. And to check that is, you know, just put the pieces together, feed something straight through it, preferably the same size as the hole or just a hair smaller, just to make sure. And then, you know, if you can slide it back and forth like that, then you know that the holes on the fingertip and the holes on the lower stall are in alignment. And so that's going to create this really nice, smooth. Now, the metal may still catch. You may still have to make some adjustments as to, you know, where the metal is rubbing on itself. But as far as making sure that everything's straight and the movement is smooth, that's what you want. You want to be able to like slide something like that. If you can't slide it like that, then it's out of alignment. So yeah. Just help to build a better quality feeling glove. All right, it's 12:08 a.m. One more finger. I have work in the morning, so let's get this done. Pinky. Thankfully, hopefully, this will be the easiest one. We're getting there. We're getting there. Why? What's the reason for the pinky to be your favorite? I really do like the pinky. It's got some really cool characteristics that I like. But just curious to see what is it about it that intrigues you? Isn't it weird that we have a favorite fingertip? I guess like any artist, it's like you ask, what's your favorite thing to paint? And somebody says, I love to paint mountains. I hate trees, but I love doing mountains. Probably a similar thing. It's just something that you find enjoyable. I think the pinky finger is probably the one that kind of fell in place for me the easiest in terms of when I was designing the template and replicating it when looking at the hero. I mean, I made tweaks to it over the years. Nothing major, just little refinements here and there. Oh, and when I say sometimes the rivets are not like perfectly straight across, it's like if you thread something straight through the holes and you look and you see that the lower stall is straight and the fingertip is straight, but the thing that you feed through the holes is slanted, that's what it's like on the pinky finger. Because the holes are not perfectly straight across from each other. Probably more so than any of the other fingers. They are offset. Yeah, I get it. I know what you're talking about. But yeah, especially when the blade gets fitted. That's one of my favorite things. Is because we're not used to seeing the fingertips just by themselves, and so when you see them by themselves, you're like, is that right? But then you put the blade on the tip, and you're like, oh, okay, yeah, that looks pretty good. But yeah, there are some characteristics about the pinky tip that. Oh shoot! Yes, I'm sorry. The camera did move. Thank you. Sorry, I've got it sitting on a tripod, and it's just kind of sitting here. leaning up against my wall. Hold on, let me. There, that should keep it from moving. Thank you for the heads up. I'm gonna have to go use my bench grinder and shave some of these edges. My shears keep kind of running outside the line a little farther than usual. As long as they're not inside the line, that's fine. Outside the line, I can fix. Inside the line, not so much. Getting fatigued, getting tired, getting tired. It's just one of these. Just got them like on Amazon or something like that. So yeah, that's all it is. There we go. That's better. Getting there. Sometimes the pinky can be a little finicky. Normally, it's the piece that just seems to come together the easiest. There we go. That's more like it. There we go. Okay. There's a certain look I was trying to get. Okay. Pretty good. I like that. Okay. There. Alrighty. Oh, there's something. There's a burr right there. Always keep a file handy. Oh, excuse me. Okay, make sure to grab a pinky blade. Let's see, where would one be? I always have a test one laying around somewhere. Always misplace it. Oh, my hands are hurting. Is this it? No, that's not it. There's a pinky blade. That's not the one I want to use. That's a middle finger. Is that it? That's it. That's a pinky finger. Not sure where that test blade went. Well, anyway, I'll test that later. Let's just test the fit for now. Like this, the fingertip is crooked. It's too skewed to the right. So that means I need to torque it that way just a little bit. Obviously that's going to change. Oh, actually that almost made it look just as good. Except this. There. Something's catching here. Oh, catching bad. Let's see. Where are you catching? All right. It's just going to be with the shape. Oh yeah, I can see it. There we go. Yeah, so now once you get the fingers together, you see how you can slide that back and forth. Let's see if I can. Should be able to just slide it back and forth like that, because then that's gonna lead you to a nice smooth movement. And so, and here's what I mean, like Hold on, let me pull myself up on the screen. So if you look, you can see the finger is straight, okay? Compared to, let me get myself out of the way. I'm doing this backwards here. Okay. There. Okay. So you can see that the finger's straight, right? But when you look at the way it goes through, it's at an angle, which means that the holes are offset. So even though they're crooked, the finger's still straight and it still has very smooth movement. So yeah, just make sure you can feed the thing through the holes like that. So this fingertip actually probably needs to be a little bit skinnier. Yeah, there we go. That's one thing I remember thinking is like, holy crap, that pinky finger is so, especially the fingertip, is just so skinny. Great, now I just caused it to catch. So I'll have to address that now that I've squeezed it a little bit tighter. Anyway, so yeah, what was I getting at? Oh yeah, I remember seeing the glove for the first time and then just looking at the pinky finger and just realizing, how did Robert's finger fit inside there with a leather glove on? It's like, he must have, for one, the leather glove must have been really, probably, I want to say thin leather, but just soft. But then also I mean, because I'm bigger, I'm heavier, than Robert is, so my hands are probably beefier than his were. Goodness, they need to be cleaned. But yeah, so I'm sure a template glove feels tighter on me than it did on Robert, especially since he was quite thin when he was performing as Freddy. So yeah. But just make sure it looks straight. Okay. There we go. There's that. So now time to do the little channel down the back of the fingertip. never forget the first time somebody pointed out to me that there's a channel that runs down the back of the fingertips. He said, yeah, you can see it in the poster. I remember looking at the poster and I was like, holy crap, there actually is. Ever since then, started adding the channel. Alrighty. I know this isn't the right blade for this finger, but it's okay. Let's see. I wonder if I've got one up here. Let me check. Sometimes I've got a spare blade sitting around. Got some P210 knives up here. I don't think I do. Okay, I don't. There we go. So yeah, so there's the pinky blade with the fingertip. See, there. In this lighting, you can see my scar right here from my skin cancer removal. Right there. Freddie got me. So yeah, there it is. The pinky blade is by far my favorite blade. I just like the shape of it. It's just very claw-like. I know all the other ones are, but there's just something about its shape that's just appealing to me. Anyway. Oh shoot, I didn't do the canal on the... Canal? Why do I keep saying canal? The channel on the back of the ring tip. So let me do that real quick before I call it. Can't slack on the ring finger. How long are we going now? 3 hours and 23 minutes just to do 4 fingertips. Okay. All right. I think I'm done for the night. Got the 4 fingertips cut out. Those are ready for their blades. I just have to make the blades now. So yeah, one step closer. All right. So anyway, that's gonna be it for me tonight. I need to get to bed because I work in the morning. So I appreciate you guys keeping me company. Let's do there. Got to send a picture of the customer. Rotate. Go business suite because he's through my business Facebook. All right, there's that. Okay. All right, guys. Thank you for keeping me company. I need to go shower, call it a night. Got to feed my dogs, take them out, you know, the wind down for the day. So thanks again for watching, keeping me company, and until next time, have yourselves a good day or night, depending on where you are in the world. Take care.